What if I told you the most controversial video game franchises ever made had never had a comic book? Not once, not even once. Not during the 90s, not during the edgy 2000s, and not even during the crowdfunding boom. And somehow, just somehow, after nearly 30 years, that's finally about to change. Hello, my name is Nimesh, and welcome to Before Panels. Today, we're going to talk about Kevin Roditeli's newest Kickstarter project. Now, if you're not familiar with who Kevin Roditeli is, here's why this announcement matters. Kevin is an independent comic book creator, writer, and publisher behind Roditeli Productions. Over the past few years, he's built a reputation in the crowdfunding space by focusing on licensed property with passionate fan communities. But what's really interesting in the mission he created for his company is not chasing the biggest franchises. He's chasing the franchises that somehow slip through the cracks. That probably happened for a reason. But can Kevin make it work? The properties that have existed for decades, built loyal fan base, spawned games, cartoons, toys, and even merchandise, but they never got a comic book. That mission recently led him to launch the first ever SWAT Kats comic book, a project that attracted significant attention from fans of the classic 90s animated series. And now, this might be the most ambitious first ever comic book adaptation yet. Because after successfully bringing SWAT Kats into comics, Roditeli's production is now tackling Postal. Yeah, that Postal. The game that politicians hated. The game that retailers refused to sell. The game that built an entire franchise out of being completely unapologetic. The game that you probably played if you were born in the 90s. I mean, if you were born after that, I guess that never happened to you. Well, you can retro play, I suppose. Now it's becoming a comic book for the first time ever. Before we talk about the comic, we need to talk about Postal itself. If you don't know the game, like I said, if you weren't around in the 1997, Postal wasn't just controversial. It was practically designed to be controversial. Created by Running with Scissors, the original game followed a disturbed protagonist, later known as the Postal Dude, before the dude that we know from Big Lebowski, as he rampaged through the town of Paradise, Arizona. The game became infamous for its violence and quickly attracted criticism from politicians, retailers, and even the media. Some stores even refused to carry it. Several countries banned it, and even the US Postal Service got into a legal battle over the name. In today's world, or better, in today's time, we all want safe spaces and safe this and safe that. In the 1997, everything was wild. Critics never really embraced Postal. Many reviews saw it crude, repetitive, and built almost entirely around shock value. But players? That's where the story gets interesting, because Postal developed something every creator dreams of: a cult following. The fans stuck around, and they stuck around for decades. Later came Postal 2, and for many fans, this is where the franchise truly became legendary. Instead of focusing entirely on violence, Postal 2 created a bizarre open-world sandbox where players could complete everyday tasks in the most ridiculous way imaginable. Do you need to buy milk? Sure. Need to get your paycheck? Absolutely. Need to survive the insanity of Paradise? Good luck. The game mixed dark humor, satire, freedom, and complete chaos in a way that critics often disliked, but players absolutely loved it. Even today, you'll find fans calling Postal 2 one of the most unique games ever made, while acknowledging that it's messy, broken, offensive, and somehow still incredibly entertaining. That's really the Postal story. Not critical acclaim, not awards. Survival. A franchise that kept going because its fans never stopped caring. And that's what makes this comic adaptation fascinating. One thing I've noticed about Kevin Roditeli project is that he's not competing with Marvel and DC. He's not trying to create the next Batman. There are a lot of creators out there that just are trying to make fanfics. A Batman in your version, a Spider-Man in your version. Instead, Kevin is targeting communities that already exist. For example, the SWAT Kats, they had fans. Postal, they have fans. Fans who have been supporting these franchises for years, sometimes even decades. And when you're crowdfunding, that's a powerful strategy. Because you're not trying to convince people to care. They already care. But do they read comics? That will be the question. You're simply offering them something they've wanted for a long time. A comic book that never existed. That's very different challenge from creating a brand new property from scratch. Cult audience are passionate, but they're also demanding, and they know every detail. You who know Marvel and DC, you guys know how passionate you are about movies that are made when they adapt those beloved comics. We all know every joke. We all know what exactly feels authentic and what doesn't. If you're going to bring Postal into comics, you have to understand why fans love this in the first place. And based on Kevin's newsletter, that seems to be exactly the approach. He openly talks about being a fan since he was a kid. He talks about only adapting properties that he personally loves. And that has become the entire mission statement of Roditeli production. Create the first comic book that fans always wished they existed. Now let's put this in the context. Video games comics, they are nothing new. Some have been massive successes. The Sonic comics became one of the longest running licensed comic series ever. Cyberpunk 2077 expanded its universe successfully through multiple comic miniseries. Even franchises like Halo, Mass Effect, Assassin's Creed, and Tomb Raider have found audiences in comic. But not every adaptation works. For every successful game comic, there are plenty that disappear almost immediately because they fail to capture what fans actually loved about the source material. How many of us are complaining with Disney and the terrible job that they're currently doing adapting Marvel products? Just stick to the source material. That is all you need to do. The best adaptation doesn't just retell the game, they expand the universe. They give something new. And that's the challenge facing Postal. Because let's be honest, they can't simply recreate the gameplay experience on a comic book page. The comic needs to find its own voice, its own story, its own reason to exist. What makes these projects particularly interesting is Kevin's larger vision. At this point, Roditeli production isn't just making comics, it's creating an identity. SWAT Kats, now Postal. Both are examples of franchises that somehow never got comic adaptation despite having passionate fan bases. That's becoming his niche. And in today's crowded Kickstarter market, having a clear identity matters. People know what they're getting. They're getting the comic that should have existed years ago. The question now is simple. Can Postal fans show up the same way SWAT Kat fans did? 6,778 backers supported SWAT Kat. And at the moment of me doing this video, the Kickstarter page for Postal already has 1,882 followers. And if you want to become one as well, check out the link in the description if you are watching this on YouTube. And if you're watching this on Facebook or my other social media, The link will be pinned in the first comment. And if it succeeds, it could engage even more forgotten franchises to finally get their first shot at comics. Honestly, that's the part of the story that interests me the most. Not wherever Postal gets a comic, but what comes next if this works. Because every successful campaign makes the next impossible adaptation feel a little bit more possible. And judging by Kevin's track record so far, I don't think he's planning to stop anytime soon. What do you think? Are you a Postal fan? Have you ever played the game? And what franchises that has never had a comic book would you want Kevin Roditeli to tackle next? Or maybe even you? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join me next time for another episode of Before Panels. I'll see you in the next one.